family-owned shop in Loganville, Soesby's Garage for all your automotive repair needs. We service all makes and models, foreign and domestic. We repair engines, alternators, brakes, alignments, AC systems, and more, using certified technicians with over 90 years of combined experience. We also offer same-day service for some repairs. Soesby's Garage, 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville. Dependable, honest, and fair. Look us up on Google or Facebook. We'll take good care of you.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. It's time for Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. We are the cornerstone of security in the Southeast.
Hey everybody, welcome once again to Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. I'm your host, Rick Strawn, the president of Paradigm Security Services, and we're excited to be with you again today on Business RadioX. We are coming to you from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio, located in the beautiful Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel in Duluth, Georgia. Please hit that subscribe button for me so that I'll know that you're there. Each week we plan to feature businesses in the Atlanta area, especially those that serve Gwinnett County. Now, while all businesses have security concerns, not all are about physical security, and we will touch on that and related aspects of security through the course of each show. My guest today, I'm very happy to have Miss Linnea Miller, and she is the founder and owner of Long Table LLC. And the kind of interesting name, Long Table LLC. You think of your boardroom, which I guess is exactly the reason that you picked Long Table LLC.
Actually, the reason I picked Long Table LLC or Long Table is because there's a quote, and it says, "When you have more than you need, build a longer table, not a higher fence." And so it just was an aspirational quote for me about thinking about when we have been given something, especially as leaders, we've grown, we've become experts, or we have knowledge or skills. How do we get seats at a table of influence? How do we be intentional about extending that table to include and welcome contribution from more and more people, and continue to extend it and say, who needs to be here? Who needs to speak into this decision? Who do I need to transfer what I have, my superpowers? Who do I transfer that to? How can I do that in a way that where I'm a high performer, but I'm also leading high performers and being inclusive with bringing everyone to the table. So that was really the inspiration behind that, and it's part of the work that I do with Long Table. So
don't limit your field of associations and relationships. Extend your table and bring in more.
That's right. Bring in more and make sure that the people that are at your table
right people.
That they're the right people, and that we're actually hearing their contribution, because we have a lot of people in our teams and in our businesses, and they're doing good hard work, but we don't necessarily pay attention to getting the best out of them, to really valuing their contributions. And so how do we do that? It takes intentionality, it takes knowledge and skills. So that's what we try to help teams do.
I know one of the things I've noticed from people is, they may be working hard, but maybe they're not working on the right things.
Yes.
They're busting their tails to do something, but it's really not focused and really not doing what is needed to get the job done for what you need as a business. But they're working hard. They're chasing their tails.
That's right. That's right. I do a lot of work with businesses on organizational clarity and alignment. And the reality is that most of us show up every day to work and we think about the tactics. We think about, what do we have to do? What do we have to get done? But we don't really think, and we don't help our people to think about how their tactics, how the work they do actually feed strategic priorities for the business, right? And so then what can happen, and then when there's silos, communication silos, things break down. And now all of a sudden you have people only worried about their to-do list, not necessarily looking at how it connects to the greater whole and to the strategic initiatives for the organization. So they work hard, they're not working smart, or they're not working strategically. And so as leaders, it's really important for us to help our people be really clear about why, whether you are somebody who is in a role where you are, balancing the budget, or you're making the donuts, or you are sitting in the executive suite, the work that you do each and every day has to feed the greater strategies and then the mission and then the values and vision of the organization for it all to be in alignment.
And looking at that, as you go through, one of the things I stress to my people and I talk about a lot is it's all about the process. Mm-hmm. Because you can put the greatest plan together, but if there's no process to the plan, to have a tendency that the plan never gets completed. So and people that don't follow the process end up getting off on tangents and really nothing gets accomplished.
That's right. And that's why, I think that historically when we think about people development, which is really the work that Long Table does, when we think about people development or we think about leadership, we kind of think about reading a great book or listening to a great speaker or maybe going to a seminar. And all those things are inspirational. They can help us seed ideas, but they don't have a process that leads to transformation. So we actually have a process. We call it a people operating system. Mm-hmm. So we've got operating systems for every other part of our business, but a lot of times we don't have an operating system, a persistent and a practical methodology for being able to help grow our people and get the best out of our people. So the work that I do in organizations is always to come in and to really help to understand. I let them self-present. Mm-hmm. Where are they strong? We have an assessment that we use called an Invincible Assessment. So where are we most invincible? Where can we take the hits and we're doing really good? And then where are we vulnerable?
Where your expertise is?
Yeah. Well, where's your pain points? And a lot of times, especially the higher up that we are as leaders in the company, we think we know the problems. But if you were to ask the guys on the floor, you were to ask the guys in the field, there's a disconnect there. And so we really do an analysis to try to figure out where are we strong, where are we not, and then how do we create that kind of personalized, practical, and persistent process to get the most out of our people, to get everybody knowing how the work that they're doing is informing and supporting those strategies that will then make the whole company, the whole organization successful. And it's a process. It's incremental improvements. And then we continue to measure. Every few months we come back and we analyze again. We get data points. We get scores. We say, okay, what scores went up? What scores went down? And are there external factors, AKA maybe a pandemic happened and that's affected your business, right? Or internal factors, maybe you are moving locations or there's new leadership. So how do we make sure that we're figuring out how all of those things are affecting the ebbs and flows of our business so that we can keep our teams moving and in a way that we are healthy and high performing and that we're invincible, that we can withstand anything, that we have the capacity to take a hit, that our people are executing, that we're aligned, that we have relationships where we trust each other and that we're communicating effectively so everybody can be their best.
Well, I know in my business, with our security, we have our officers out in the field, mm-hmm. and they report to work, they do their jobs, they get off. So with my level and the office staff, other than having to come in to get fresh uniforms or personnel specific matters, there's very little communication. Mm-hmm. So what I found works is to put that middle layer in there of management and supervisors that relate with them so that you can get that honest feedback of what the people, where their pain points are in the field, because I don't talk to these people on a daily basis, sometimes weekly, monthly. I may have a guy come in there and it's a while before I ever talk to him again because it's just the way it works because they come from their home to their job, back to the home. So, and if you don't have some way to get that, to monitor what the feedback is from these people that you never associate with or never talk to hardly, then you have no clue of, you may think you're doing a great job.
That's right.
They may think you suck.
That's right. Right. There's a disconnect. And when the right hand's not talking to the left hand, and then we don't understand why we're having problems with retention, or our people are unhappy, or there are skills gaps. Like, well, I thought I taught them everything that they needed to know,
Exactly.
know? And so it's really important to not only look at the culture as a whole, but to actually look at each subculture. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we have this this aspiration of leadership, we use the example of a Sherpa. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Sherpas on Mount Everest, right? They're actually a people group. They're an indigenous people group.
They have great swords.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing about the Sherpa is that they are uniquely conditioned and acclimated to the conditions of the mountain. They know where the obstacles are. They spend their whole lives performing at really high levels, right? Mm-hmm. But the Sherpa's success is not how many times the Sherpa has summited. The Sherpa's success is how many people did they get to help summit. And the Sherpa doesn't carry people up on their back. The Sherpa depends on the climber to follow his lead, but the climber's life is literally in the hands of the Sherpa. And to the extent that the Sherpa is a healthy, high-performing leader, that's literally intrinsically tied to the success of the climber. And so that when we think about that, how well are our people leaders in our organizations, like in your organization, your field managers, or those people that are leading people, to the extent that they are healthy, to the extent that they are acclimated for all the conditions, that they know the obstacles, and they have an intentional process to invest in their people, mm-hmm. that's to the extent that we can all, that the company will be able to summit and will be able to be strong and healthy and high performing. So we have to equip those people leaders to lead people. So it's about performing, but then it's about leading performers.
Yeah, being able to bring along the next leaders.
Yeah. That's right.
The idea to me is, you train people to do your job.
That's right.
You want somebody to be as qualified or more qualified, at least as you are.
100%.
In that way, if anything happens to you, you've got a replacement. But more important, as you grow, you have a parallel leader.
That's right.
And they feel comfortable in what they're doing. They've grown in what they're doing, and they understand what the job really is, not just the surface of it.
Yeah, and it relates from everything from parenting. If you don't
absolutely.
raise your kids to be healthy, high-performing humans, then you've done them a disservice if you're making them dependent on you and your own leadership for their whole lives, right?
Absolutely.
That doesn't work. But the same thing in any role of leadership is how do we have a process, and like you're talking about, a process and an intentionality. Accidental leadership is a hit and miss, right? You might hit some, you might not. But at the end of it, how do you pass that baton? Most likely you won't, right? And there's so many people, and especially when I think of, we just have such an incredibly rich and diverse leadership infrastructure in Gwinnett County.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite things about Gwinnett. The challenge, I would say, to each and every leader, myself and you included, is how intentional are we at passing that baton, at pouring into others what we ourselves have learned? And so that would work for me as in my public role, mm-hmm. as how intentional do I have a process of calling people up, preparing and inviting people to take my job? I hope so, and it's in business, it's in parenting, it's in every part of our lives. And I think that's one thing where we can really do better, all of us as people, but especially people that are in positions of power. We really have to think, it doesn't make us less valuable when we transfer our skills and our knowledge and our expertise to somebody else. It actually makes us more valuable because now there's somebody else that can do what we can do, and we get to bring more people along.
Absolutely. Being a leader in Gwinnett County and wearing many hats, and you do both from personal basis, your volunteer stuff, your work. I mean, you have a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. But what aspect of your job or jobs brings you your greatest joy?
Yeah, I think there's an overarching why to the many what's that I do, right? I do wear a lot of hats. I'm the mayor pro tem for the city of Suwanee. I am, I lead a company. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmother. I love my grandson. So
I'm a great grandfather.
You're a great grandfather. Oh my
God.
It's
a trip.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I'm a volunteer, right? I hope I'm a champion for Suwanee and for Gwinnett. I believe that I am.
You are.
But to me, it really goes back to the why. And I really believe that everyone matters. I think everyone has potential to add value to their world. And when people know that they belong and that their contributions are valued, people thrive. So that's the work, even in public that I do. It's helping people to know that if you live in the city of Suwanee, if you're a visitor in the city of Suwanee, you belong to us. You have an opportunity to add value. And if I can help you get plugged in and be able to know how you belong, how you can add value, how you can become a co-creator of community with us, we're able to create champions for community. So that's in my public role. In my work that I get to do, it's within organizations. Does everybody in your organization, whether they are cleaning facilities or, again, at the head of the C-suite, do they know that their contribution is valued? Do they know how to bring it in a way that improves their influence and helps to add value to the greater goals of the organization? So that's it. It's everyone matters. Everyone belongs. How do we get the most out of people, unlocking their potential, connecting them to the highest version of themselves? And that's what I care about.
Well, a lot of people, my feeling is everybody has a value.
That's right.
And if they're in an organization, you saw something in them when you hired them that made them qualified to do the job. Yeah. I think a lot of times people have problems with identifying and realizing what it is they bring to the job. They just come and say, well, I just want a paycheck. I want to go home.
That's right.
If they truly understand the value that they have to the business and what they can input to the business in a positive way, that makes them feel like more ownership in the company.
That's right.
They are part of something rather than just an employee or a worker that comes and goes. And if, a lot of times they don't know what that is.
Right.
They have to have help identifying it, and that's your job as a leader, to help identify what it is you bring to the table.
That's it.
And let you make that grow.
And to give them tools and strategies to help them be able to do just that. Yep. And so, part of the work that I do with my clients is we really introduce language that is common and that is scalable and that's sticky, that you can remember. Our tools are simple. They're not simplistic, but a tool as simple as, a lot of times we know, and you know this, I'm sure, as a business owner and just with your experience, people will, I have an issue. I have a problem. I need help. But they don't know how to think about that issue in a constructive way where they can first be a part of solving that problem. Mm-hmm. So, a simple tool like, is it a barrier, a hurdle, or a gap? Those are different things. We solve for those things in different ways. So is it a barrier? It's an immovable, hard, fixed obstacle. Who or what is it? How do we go around it, go over it, go under it? Is it a hurdle? Hurdles we can get over. Mm-hmm. They're just hard. They're awkward. Sometimes they require more training, more skill, they can be tiring when we have to jump those hurdles over and over again. We can be afraid that we're going to fall on our face, but we can get over it. How do we help our people get over the hurdle? Who or what is it? Or is it a gap? Like, I would love to do this, but we don't have the software that we need, or we need a controller.
That's really interesting, but I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how. But what for your person, for someone in your organization might be a gap for them, that might just be a hurdle for you. You could be like, well, I'm so glad to know that there's a gap there because I can help fill that gap. Mm-hmm. Or I didn't know that was a barrier for you. Let me help you figure out how to get over and around, bring in a resource or use a connection or whatever we have as leaders to be able to help people move through those barriers. So again, a simple tool, barriers, hurdles, gaps, helps unlock that kind of resistance that people have to being part of being constructive problem solvers for themselves. So that's just one tiny example. But when we use that language and it becomes common and sticky and everyone uses it. So when I'm with my clients, they're like, oh, I say stuff kind of like that. I just don't use those words. I'm like, nope, use the words. Everyone should be using the words from the executive level to the people in the field, and use them with your clients and your vendors. When your vendors are calling you, your clients are calling you, and they're like, hey, I got a problem with this. I got a problem with that. say, okay, I hear you. Like, I want to be a part of solving that. Would you consider that a barrier, a hurdle, or a gap? Asking those questions with clarifying language is really, really helpful.
And then listen to
the answers and be a part of solving that problem, or help them to be a constructive part.
Help guide them into giving you
That's
an
right.
answer rather than just giving you a problem.
That's right.
That's one of the things I have a lot of times. People will come to me and bring me a problem.
Right.
And we'll talk about it, and I say, what I need from you is to think it through a little bit and give me a solution to your problem that you have an idea of, or don't just bring me the problem, bring me a solution with it, or at least a possible way of addressing it.
Right.
And then we can tweak it.
Right.
It may
so
not
now
be
what
the
would you think
solution.
about asking your people, is it a barrier, hurdle, or gap?
I think that's an excellent way of putting it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I'll look at start to use
You
that.
might start doing that.
Yeah.
I would and then next time we come on, I'm going to ask you how that went, and you're going to tell me an example.
We'll see about that.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I just had a couple of other questions because I want to get into something else before we run out of time. But why can't leaders solve people problems on their own? And how does your public work and professional work intersect, or does it really?
I think that every leader, for the most part, most good leaders care about their people. They really do. They want what's best. They want to get the best out of their people. But a lot of times we're too close. We're too close to it. We can't see objectively. Also, we don't wake up every day thinking about what tools, what strategies can I use to get the best out of my people? We've got other things we're trying to figure out how we're going to increase revenue, or how we're going to report to the board, or
how is the business going to do better rather than how are people going to do better,
That's
which
right.
is a lot of times that's what causes your business to do better.
That's right. And I think as leaders, our priority generally is alignment and execution. Like, we want our people, can our people just do what I want them to do, right? Just get on board, get on the boat, and
get
pull
these
them
people trained.
That's right. And execute. So do more, work harder, heads down, right? But the reality is we have to have all things working in alignment. We have to have all the wheels spinning. We call it maximizing team performance, meaning we have to be working on communication, relationships, execution, alignment, and capacity. That's a wheel. And when that's spinning, we're unstoppable. But when there's a clog in the wheel, we're going to find that we're going to come to a halt and a grind. And so if we're only driving execution and we're only driving alignment, our problems are actually in communication, or our problems are in relationships, psychological safety, those types of things. And there's drama and there's silos. No matter how much we drive execution and alignment, the wheel's not going to spin.
Well,
so that's where you need someone to come in objectively and analyze it, give you a score, and you can look objectively at your organization and say, okay, this is where we need to do some work.
Well, every person you work, if each one of those people has gotten their own little silo, and they're stuck in that silo, and they do their job, they only worry about their job, they don't worry about anything else.
That's right.
That's their focus. They lose the big picture.
That's right.
There is no big picture.
Right.
So you got to get them. To me, you got to get them out of their silos, and that's one of the reasons why I try to move people around a little bit to give them a fresh view, a fresh look at what's going on to a different type of position, a different job description, whatever, so that they don't get all siloed up and just think. That's what makes, to me, that redundancy, that over and over, same thing, it drives me crazy. I have got to have something else to break up the monotony. It's boring.
Right.
So you got to have something.
Well, as a guardian connector,
That was exactly what I was going to say.
that monotony and repetition is going to drive you crazy, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier, your voice profile even, and just understanding the voice profiles of the different people on your team. Some people love what you would call monotony and redundancy. Some people love, like a nurture, for instance.
It's consistent to them.
It's consistent to them, and they love mastery. They want to make sure that they do the reps over and over so that they can become an expert. It gives them a lot of confidence, right? And a master of something maybe small, where you might like to be kind of a little bit more of a jack of all trades, right? Be kind of 80% good at everything, whereas some people might want to be 100% good at 2 things or 5 things, right? So knowing our people, what they prioritize, what their motivations are, how they're wired is another really valuable tool. And that's what we use the 5 voices to really get at some of that motivation.
Well, that's what, you had me do last night before I came in, was take that 5 voices 80 question test.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. I talked to you, and we talked or emailed back and forth and talked before the show. I found it very interesting as I was going through it. I felt like I contradicted myself. I'd answer a question, and I'd believe my answer. And then I'd go down a little ways. It'd ask basically the same question, reworded a little bit, and I'd go to the other end of the spectrum. So or at least I felt like I did.
Yeah.
And, so tell us a little bit about what the 5 voices and what this stuff is, because I know that you have your thoughts on my I won't call it a personality, but then I guess it possibly is.
It is kind of, it really is. It is. It's
what motivates me, what all that.
Yeah. 5 Voices is just really great. It's a psychometric tool. It's really based on Myers-Briggs. But the reason why we break it down into voice profile, everybody has all 5 voices. That number 1 is that one that you most present in that way. You are most aligned with the motivations of that voice. You're going to show up in your world. People will experience you through that lens, right? And using 5 voices helps us to make something that would otherwise, in some other tools and frameworks, can be, it could be something that is interesting for us, but it's not transferable. Whereas when knowing that you are a guardian foundational voice, I'm a connector foundational voice, we're going to have different ways that we show up and that other people experience us, right? You are going to show up with a lot of logic, process, systems. You're always going to want to make sure that we're getting to what is true, And so you're willing to ask difficult questions. But you're also a highly motivated issue spotter, right? And that connector voice is going to feed that energy in you and going to make you in the moment really great. Like you probably would be great at debate, for instance, right? Because that logic that you have.
I think quickly. You think quickly, right? And you think quickly and on your feet, but you have to be in an environment that's really stimulating for you as well, like your background in law enforcement, So for me, as a connector, I'm a connector creative. So it makes me super future-oriented. Absolutely understand that and see that.
Yes. And I'm always thinking about the potential in people. I'm always thinking about how we can put people, resources, systems in play to champion something that's greater. Right? And that's just how I show up in this world. Guardian's actually my 5th voice. So that contradiction is not surprising to me. Guardians and connectors, we can have different ways of processing. Guardians are very present-oriented. Connectors are future-oriented. Connectors are people and values. Guardians are systems and process.
See, that's where I found my disconnect. I'm a guardian connector.
Right, so you're kind of fighting with yourself a little bit.
Yeah, one is future.
Yep.
One is present.
Yep.
And so that I look at, I work within the present.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm thinking about down the future, what is this present going to create? What are the reactions? How are people going to respond to it?
Yep.
That's my future part.
Yep, absolutely. And you want to go to the future, but you're not going to go there unless you have a plan. You know how we're going to get there. We've addressed all the
because
issues.
I don't want to direct the outcome of that future.
That's right.
Through what I'm doing now.
That's right.
I want to get to what I want the future to be by directing at this point.
That's right. That's right, and that's what's
made
you so successful. No, everyone.
No, in my brain, I work it so that I want the situation to be the process. I mean, I'm big on process.
Right.
So that the outcome will be what I want it to be.
Yes.
But if I can see it's not going there, I don't have a problem with changing the direction, changing the process to get to the final outcome.
That's right. That's right. And that ambition and that drive, and that's why I asked you when we first came on, I said, what do you do for fun? What'd you say?
I really don't do that much outside of work.
Exactly. And that's that work. That work for you is fun, right?
Yeah.
And again, but with every superpower, that's why you're so successful, but with every superpower that we have, that hardworking, that drive, that achievement orientation, with every superpower we have, we just have to pay attention to what is the kryptonite. What is it on the other side of that can undermine our influence, sometimes with our family members? Are we driving too hard? Are we not able to be present?
Find the balance.
Right? And find the balance. Just know yourself so you can lead yourself and lead other people in a way that will maximize your influence.
Well, and I see that because I can't remember the last time I really took a vacation.
Right.
My wife takes, and with the kids and the grandkids, takes a vacation probably 2 weeks every year, and they take a week at spring holidays and this, that. And so they've got 2-3 weeks of solid vacation time that they take, and I consider that my vacation. Everybody's gone, but as far as taking a week and going somewhere, I can't remember the last time, if it wasn't work related or oriented around a business trip for my CPEs or whatever, that I actually went somewhere for any length of time. I did go a new great-grandfather. I did just go to Dallas and spend about 3 days and visit with my new great-granddaughter. So, but that's the first time I've taken personal time, and I can't remember when.
Right.
A day at a time here, working mostly.
Yes. And it does not surprise me. But again, if you can know that and then just say, okay, where might that be? Is it producing the reality that I want? Is it healthy? Right. Is it healthy for me physically? Is it healthy for my relationships? Is it healthy for my people that I work, that are in my employ, and just make sure that we're balancing that superpower we have with the recognition of what it can be like to be on the other side of us, and what it might cost us sometimes if we drive too hard into that, if we don't press pause every once in a while.
Well, it amazes me, after all I've been through in my past and all that, the doctor says you're ridiculously healthy, and I'm wondering, okay, I'm overweight, I've got this, I got that, and I used to drink like a fish. God's plan.
God's plan, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. So, so I look forward to, a lot of years to come. That's right. God could change my mind real quick. Right. But, it's one of those things. I think, let me ask you a final question. I've got 100 questions more I could ask you. We could keep going. We'll have to get together again to talk some more about Long Table.
Right.
But how will you leave Gwinnett better than when you found it? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to that sense of healthy people. Like, better people make for better businesses. Better people make for better family members. Better people make for better communities. So I think when people are healthy, businesses are healthy. When businesses are healthy and families are healthy, communities are healthy. So, what I think that if I can do anything in Gwinnett, it's to really leave this community, leave a bunch of people that feel and know how to engage, how to take care of this community, how to be the best version of themselves for their families, for their businesses, for their community, right? And that I truly, truly believe that when we have healthy people and we can help be advocates and champions for people, help bring the best out of them, our community is going to continue to thrive. I think we're already doing really well at that. And so we need to continue to do it. And as we do have new changeover in leadership, whether it is in the political world, in the, the business world, in just different generations, right? Different demographics. Like, how do we continue to extend the table and make sure we're not sitting in siloed tables, that we are making sure we're extending it, we're being intentional, we're bringing people in, we're listening to their perspectives and getting the most out of them, right? And transferring what do we know that can be of value to them.
Keep that welcome sign
Pass
on the
that
door.
baton. Yep, that's it.
Yep. Well, I tell you, like I said, I could talk with you probably another hour, but I can't do that. So
you didn't pay Mike for enough radio time?
Yeah, Mike says you can use as much as you want, and then he starts looking at everything and cut. But it's great talking with you again. We'll have to get together to talk some more about this, because I want to hear more about Long Table.
Yes.
And more about what your thoughts are of where our county's going.
Sure.
With regards, not so much politics, but in regards to business. There are so many developments going on right now and changes in the business atmosphere in Gwinnett County. And not all of them are positive, but the majority of them are.
Right.
And I would love to talk to you and get your insights and your thoughts, because you're out there in the business world. You're extremely active in the business world. You've had a great segment on your Facebook and all that. Real briefly, I'm going to let you tell us about that real quick.
March is International Women's Month, right? Just celebrating the contributions of women, and women's contributions matter every single month, as do men.
Absolutely.
You know, and but I just wanted to. It really came from a place of gratitude. I have really learned so much, and as a part of this business community, as a part of this, just this greater community in Gwinnett County. And so much of my growth and my success can be attributed to women who are really doing and making a big difference. They're competent, they're confident, they're humble.
They're difference makers.
They're collaborators, right? And so I have learned so much, and I just wanted to take a small way to celebrate them. So every day for the month of March, we've been able to honor and celebrate and elevate the contributions of 2 women that are industry leaders or leaders in Gwinnett. And so here we are at March 31st, and we've been able to elevate and celebrate 62 women. They represent just a tiny portion of the women that deserve honor and celebration in this community, but it's just been a great honor to be able to do that this month.
And right in line with your whole thought process and belief system, if anybody's listening to this as we go through here, who was the person that you had on there today?
Today was my mom. Today was my mom and one of my childhood mentors who both live in Gwinnett. And, and my mom's contribution, she doesn't run a business. She's never been an executive. That's not her world.
She has.
But, she's raised me, and that's a handful enough.
Exactly.
But you know what? She has shaped me. She has prayed for me every single day of my 45 years of life. And she is a champion. And I just appreciate her, and so she's a hero in my eyes.
Well, I read it. I've read every one of them. I've passed them along, shared them. There's some great stuff in there about the women, and it's amazing I would suggest people go back and look you up on Facebook. What's your Facebook page?
Facebook page is either Linnea Miller or Long Table Consulting is my Facebook pages.
Well, go take a look at those and look at these posts that she's done every day in March and kind of learn a little bit. You'll learn a lot about Linnea Miller by reading those posts on those women that she posts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities there. You can see the growth in her as she goes. Even the order of it is rather interesting if you look at the order of them. But I want to thank you again for coming on. I can't thank you enough. It's great. Keep up the good work out there. What is your website that people can go to if they want to take a look at Long Table and take a look at the information that you've just been going through?
It's longtableconsulting.com on LinkedIn. You can find me on Long Table or Linnea Miller Long Table. I'm not sure. But anyway, you could find me. I'm out there. I'm not hard to find. I'm not hard to find.
Is there any phone number of your business that they can get?
My business, my cell phone number.
Silly question.
My cell phone number is on the City of Swanee's website.
Exactly.
And so it's 678-592-4150.
Do that again a little slower.
678-592-4150. So
Awesome.
Reach out to me. I would love to have lunch, to have coffee, or just to connect.
Do yourself a favor and reach out to Linnea. You will not be disappointed at the time that you spend with her. It'll be an amazing thing. Well, thank you all for joining us on Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. Remember, you can join us live on Wednesdays at 11:30 in the morning, or you can listen to my show anytime that you want by going to businessradiox.com and clicking on the Gwinnett studio, and then, of course, click on Case in Point. Please be sure when you go through there to hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you in there. Join us next week at 11:30, well, actually 2 weeks at 11:30, when we will talk with business leaders about their businesses and related security issues in today's world. Thanks again to my guest, Linnea Miller.
Thank you.
And for my producers, Mike and Amanda. And I'm Rick Strawn, and remember, at Paradigm Security Services, we cover more than just your assets.